Thanks to Roger for a great presentation. Thank you. I love coming to Hong Kong. It's always a pleasure to be here. So also thanks to all of you for spending the time together with us and with me tonight. We're going to talk about design strategy today and how you're able to build up a design strategy in a global medical device company. So before we start with talking about this, I will just give a brief introduction about myself. So I am a designer. I'm a designer by training, and I've been developing a lot of products, designing a lot of stuff myself. I've been working within furniture, lamps, interior design, medical devices, and in this picture you also see some of my work within consumer electronics. So my background is a designer, but all my career I've developed myself from being an individual designer to a person that leads designers in creative design teams. So this means that I'll be able to work within a large organization. I will have a design team, creative people, and I will be working together with them. But at the same time, I will be working together with the executives and leadership people of the company, able to integrate design into the overall strategy of the company. So it means like two sides. On one side, creative people, on the other side, the business strategy. So this talk today is about how to combining these two into one thing. So in my career, I've been very fortunate and lucky to work with a lot of interesting international companies. And just to give you one example of this work, if you look at the Cisco, I was the head of the European Design Center for Cisco for the last 6 years before this job I have now. So in Cisco, we were able to create a global design strategy, introduce design to Cisco in a way that have not been done before. And this work was primarily in the consumer business of Cisco. So that means it was products like networking products, wireless music systems, video cameras like the flip cam, and a lot of other areas. And I just brought one example today of some of the work we've done. So this is an example of networking products before we started to work with design in Cisco. So this stuff is the strategy of design before we introduced our new strategy. This was really like pretty technical looking products. IT-based products and a large scale of all kind of small details, different things. But we were able to change this for something being very, very complicated to something that was extremely simple. Simple and easy to use, easy to set up. So we worked at the whole experience from retail experience to purchase to set up through industrial design to usage. And we were lucky also to receive international design awards like IF Award and Red Dot Award for this work. So probably some of you here would have some of these products in your home. These are sold in millions globally. But anyway, let's talk about Coloplast. So the interesting thing about Coloplast actually that Coloplast, you can say Coloplast is based on design and based on user-driven design. Because the history of Coloplast was about a nurse that had a job of being a visiting nurse. So she was out meeting people with chronic conditions in their homes, listening to their stories, helping them out, understanding their lives. And then at a certain point in the 50s, her little sister got cancer. She was diagnosed with cancer. And what happened was that this little sister got an operation, what is called an ostomy operation. And at that time, there wasn't any good products available for her little sister. So this nurse used her knowledge about people and about really understanding how people live with chronic conditions, was able to develop the world's first, what is called ostomy bag, together with her little sister. So that was kind of the starting point for design in Coloplast, in the 50s. So right now, Coloplast have grown to be a really global company that works within medical devices. So Coloplast have more than 8,000 employees in offices around 30 countries and works within what's called ostomy care, continence care, wound and skin care, and some other areas, a broad range of different products with people with chronic conditions. We still work with design. You can see some pictures here from the new design team. And actually, some people recognize outside the work that Coloplast is doing with the design. So we somehow have a reputation for using design. Here's a person called Erik von Hippel that sees that not only are we able to understand the user's needs, we're actually also able to involve them in the innovation process. So we do this. This is just one example of the stuff we do. We have an internet portal it's called Innovation by You. And here, thousands of people that use our products, together with designers, together with R&D people from Coloplast, are able to together develop new products in a kind of community mass collaboration space. So this is something that's not so often happening for companies, so this is of course something that gets a little bit of attention. But anyway, I'm here to talk about the future design strategy we're building up. So if you look at Coloplast, you can almost say there's kind of different periods in Coloplast history that we can talk about. So first you can say that the first part of the history, like the first 24 or 5 years, was about developing products that actually worked. Just solving the most basic functionality in the products and get them to work so they are able to do the job that they should. Then we had the next period of Coloplast was still continuing to develop product that works, but also working together with the healthcare system to create this ecosystem of reimbursement and nurse training and these things to be able to also integrate these products into a larger scheme of things. So you can say this was a period of 30 years developing the healthcare system together with Coloplast. These things continue to be important, but we're looking into if there's a third period, a third era of Coloplast, where maybe design will have a large importance, and design will be an important part of what we do. So in 2010, we introduced a new corporate strategy, and in this strategy, we had the vision of taking design to the next level in a way that has never been done before in any kind of medical device company. We had the vision, but then this was about finding out how to do it. And this is, of course, a part of my job to enter into the company and help define what is this strategy going to be about. So we have the vision. We want to be leaders in design. We needed a starting point, some place that enable us to have a foundation on what we're working at. So what we did was we started to look at some trends, like what kind of trends exist in this space. Maybe we can use that as a starting point for design strategy. So we looked into a trend like healthcare pressure. Healthcare systems are under pressure. It's because you have the financial crisis and the debt crisis in the Western countries. That means the amount of money that is available for this healthcare sector will just be less in the future. So this would mean that patients that maybe have a chronic illness or disease, they will have to pay more themselves than they are doing right now. This is like a trend. And that means if you're paying yourself, maybe you will also start to have other kinds of expectations. You will start to have other kinds of demands. You will simply require a better buying experience because it's your own money you use. You will also require more choices. And what that means that's interesting is that you can say that the medical device industry would become a little bit more like the consumer goods industry in some way. So this is some of the theory we started to look into. So we thought about, are there any kind of good examples of this? Where this is happening, we can get inspired from. And we took a look into hearing aids. So if you look at this picture, clearly you can see that a hearing aid 15 years ago compared to a hearing aid now is something really different. On the left side, you see that obviously there's not a lot of design on the product to the left side, and now there's this beautiful hearing aid which have a lot of more design effort into it. But what we found interesting was it's not just a matter of making design better, it's a different perspective of design. If you look to the picture on the left side, it's actually trying to do something really different than the picture on the right side. Because on the left side, you'll see this is about trying to hide you have a hearing aid. So they choose transparent plastic, they choose skin color. So it's almost like trying to blend in around your face, behind your ear. But the other one, it's really not trying to be hidden. It's almost like a statement. It's almost like, yes, maybe I have something on my ears, but I also have the most modern, advanced technology in this really nicely designed product. And it's really transforming the meaning it gives to the people that wear it. So it frees the people of stigmatizing the situation they're in. So we started to look more into this kind of thinking, and we actually found out that you can argue that this is innovation of meaning. So it's an innovation of what these products mean to people. So we have another example. I don't know if any of you saw this person in the Olympics. He has the nickname of Blade Runner, and he's participating with other athletes on equal terms. And then if you think about prosthetic legs, of course, it's not the same kind of product, but just the thought of it. If you look at this product on the left side, this is really trying to hide that you have a problem with your legs. It is against skin color and have small plastic toes even, try to look like as much as possible as a real leg. But obviously, it's not a real leg. But in the terms of this guy, Blade Runner, it's almost cool that you have this thing. he was seen as almost like a new sex icon of the Olympics, and the girls loved him, and he's even seen almost like being better than other people. So we saw some examples of journalists writing in the Olympics saying maybe he should not even be allowed to participate because he have an advantage over the other athletes. So that's really about seeing his condition in a really different perspective. And we thought this kind of thing is really interesting for us in terms of creating medical devices. And then we even start to see, this is really recently, we start to see inspiration from advertising. This is a bank, Danish bank called Danske Bank, that is, I think it's the Scandinavia's largest bank. And they're starting to use this kind of thinking in terms of communicating what they want to do. So the bank here, they're saying, this guy, he's almost like the financial market. At a certain point, 4 years ago, the financial market got the legs cut off. It was a terrible situation, and guess what? It's never going to be the same again. But then what the bank is saying in the advertising, with the new standards, and they're talking about his legs, but they're also talking about their financial services. With new standards, you're able to create a new normal that maybe is even better than the other normal if you don't think about going back to how we were before. So that you can call is innovation of meaning, how things give meaning to yourself in a different way. So all this until now was kind of inspiration until how we want to create our own strategy. So what we did was, where to start creating a design strategy? Of course, you need to start with a brand. So we started to take a look at what is our vision for the company, what are our values, what do we believe in, what's important to us, how can we use the tradition of empowering users and listening to users. Then we did a large process where we interviewed everybody from deep interviews with the CEO and executive teams to deep interviews with everybody down to the end users of our products to find out what's important. We also engaged, of course, in what kind of visual identity did we have already, but we also took a look, of course, at competitors and design trends. All this we formulated into what we call our design DNA vision. So the word design DNA, when I use it today, this is the name we gave the design initiative internally. So the design DNA consists of something we call behaviors. This is the foundation of our design DNA. So behaviors is certain guidelines that guide us in the way we make decisions and the way we think about projects. So it's not about having like a cookie cutter template of how things look. It's more like a philosophy. So we have 5 different behaviors. So the first behavior is about being bold. This talks a lot to the company's vision about really trying to do something that have never been done before. And therefore you need to be bold, do bold jumps, do something that is really different than what's done before, also use design in a different way. At the same time, we have the behavior of drive efficiency, and this means we are going to be bold, but we're going to be bold in a very strategic way. So it's long-term solutions that we're going to be bold in, and we're also going to choose some areas that we're going to invest in and some areas that we're not going to invest in. And we're really trying to drive like mass market efficient products out. Then we have 2 things that relates to the user. We have something about respecting the context. And this talks to that, of course, people with a chronic illness, it's really about understanding the situation from their perspective, understanding the social stigma around the situation, understanding how they deal with the situation with other people, and also helping them to cope with that in a different way. Then we have about the user experience, that whatever decisions we make, we have to put the user experience first. And this also talks to having really easy to use and intuitive products. So every time a person would use these products, they would be reminded how easy it is to use them, and they will instill confidence in our brand. And the last one talks to execution, where designers and engineers really have to work together to do something that is beyond what you normally would find, like beautiful executed solutions, design and engineers that have an element of something extra. So we have this as our platform, we call it our design DNA, and you can almost see it like you have the design DNA in the middle, and then you have the behaviors surrounding it, and then everybody in the organization needs somehow to cope with these and work with them and understand them and live them. So example, like the designers obviously have something around how things look and the functionality that they have to be part of the design DNA with. Also, you have the management team that needs to be able to take bold decisions when they're facing a challenge. And you have engineers needs to, of course, be willing to invest and work with designers. And you have all parts of the organization that works together in this kind of seamless, integrated way of developing the design DNA. So this can seem a little bit technical because this is looking from the company from the inside. This is how things look from inside of the company. But if you look outside of the company, of course, the design DNA is about something different. This is about the experience users get. So the really unique Coloplast experience that stands out from the crowd of any other medical device company want to give. This is what they have to experience. So there's different kind of perspective inside and outside. So here, this is just some visual examples about how our thinking maybe a little bit like earlier products on the left side, and this is some of the stuff we're working at on our vision for future product that is much more consumer-oriented design work, of course. So we have this vision, we know what we're doing, we have the organization, we're starting to do this kind of work, but we also needed a way like a framework for organizing all the different ways we can work with design. So we needed somehow a map, an overview of different ways we could integrate design in our organization. So what we did was we started to think about the history of design. We have the long history of Danish design, and we started to think about our history, and you can almost divide the history of design into different phases. So you can say that the first period, maybe in the 80s, was really this human focus phase. It was about interaction design. It was about involving people, user-driven design. Then in the 90s, you had a phase where it was about brand's role in design. So the branding people started to understand that building a global brand, design is a large part of this. You can have an example, for example, Nike shoes. The shoe became the brand, and the brand became the shoes in this period. Then we have, the last 10 years have been about premium user experiences. And this is where you have design, not only designing the product, but designing everything that surrounds the product. So all the different places where the users will meet the brand, like, for example, packaging, out-of-box experience, retail experience, internet, service calls, everything is designed to give the same kind of experience. And what we're seeing more and more now is that design, the last couple of years and in the future, will play a role in innovation. So a lot of different ways from front-end design, service design, business design, design thinking, where design plays a role in innovation. So we looked at this and said, maybe we can use this as a framework to create a model that have all of this stuff built into it. Everything is still important. Let's try to build this together. So what we did was we took these things and we built like 4 different steps in designs. Each period was important. And we had like the first period, the user-centered design, was about creating one product that was really great. We call this design excellence. Then you have design philosophy, where design goes across products, so you have the same experience across products. Then you have the experience design, all the different touch points that are designed, and design-driven innovation. This was our framework. So we started to figure out how can we map that in a model that we're actually able to use internally. So today I brought an example, because I think I brought an example that everybody knows, of course, to simplify what we are doing. So I took the example of an iPhone that all of us know. So if you think about the iPhone, and I would compare it to Coloplast after, there are certain design disciplines that goes into designing the product. You have on one side, you have industrial designers, you have graphic designers, you have interaction designers, you know, when you zoom and do these different things. And together they will create almost like the Apple's experience of using a product. But then what's interesting with Apple that it doesn't stop there, because they're also seeing that same product, you can actually have the same experience across different products. So if you have, for example, using your iPhone, if you use your iPad, it's the same experience. Even down to the connectors or the headphones or all the different products, it's the same Apple-ness experience they give. And this, of course, gives a really, really strong brand experience. Every time some person uses an Apple product, it reminds them of the Apple brand that becomes stronger and stronger, and next year probably would be the most valuable brand in the world. But then the question comes, what if you only have one iPhone? You have one iPhone, that's enough, you don't care about the other products. How does the Apple experience look like then? And then what's interesting is that you can actually make another kind of experience map where vertically it's integrated with other kinds of experiences. So if you go to the web page, it has the same Apple-ness. If you go to the store, or talk to the salespeople, or if you look at the product at the store, or if you buy the packaging, it's really well designed, or an out-of-box experience, and of course, the setup is even kind of the Apple experience. So there's kind of a vertical integration of experience. So you can almost say that their map would look something like this, where you have consistency in two directions. So this is something we use as inspiration. So in the same way, we have like, each product should be absolutely super well designed. We have other design disciplines. We have this notion of innovation of meaning. We talked about that earlier. Innovate what the product means to people and people's own self-perception. We have user-driven design. This is part of our history. We also have this thing about usability design and industrial design, of course. This then gives our unique experience that we should be recognized for, and people should start learn about this is our experience. And then we can take this experience in the same way as Apple, and we guide them across different touch points in different other products. So all the products will have the same kind of positive Coloplast experience. And then you can argue that some users might have used different products, but maybe one user only use one product, it's only relevant for them one product, they don't care about the other ones. But what's interesting, if you do this kind of work, you will have, every time a person uses the product and have the same experience, they will start to share the same stories. And every time people talk about the products and bring out the same story, it will really enforce your brand in a very big way. So it's really clear these products are about some certain values. But then we talked about, like, what about the other kind of user journey, vertical user journey? What would that look like? So the thing is that we started to look into Apple. Yeah, we're going to do the same kind of idea about the user journey. But actually what we found out that, of course, our products are completely different. The user journey of these people, it's something completely different than the other products. So we started to look into what kind of user journeys can we do, or can we look into in terms of treating people with chronic illness or conditions in terms of this. So we look into that actually there's two types of user journeys for us. In Apple, we had kind of one type of user journey. We have two different types. So one type of user journey is in a situation you can imagine you're a person that don't have a problem. The person is doing fine. Maybe the person then comes into an accident, a car accident, breaks their back. They go into the hospital. They learn about the new situation. They maybe have surgery. Maybe they're introduced to some products they have to use. Maybe they are then in training and recovery, and they are home and back in the hospital. And at a certain point, they're in their home and have to start a new daily routine. So this is a user journey of a whole lifetime from before anything happens to you and your life. Then there's another user journey that is more like the daily routine. You're back in your home, you have a chronic condition, and then you are somehow waking up, you have some rituals. Your day would be a little bit different than most of us, and there's some certain things you have to do and take care of, and that's another type of user journey. So we use these user journeys, we use them to develop our products. We look into all these user journeys, all these different elements, and find opportunities for us to design. So this is the user journey of the life user journey, and this is the user journey of the day user journey that is really different. So we started to take these concepts and we put them into, see how they fit into this model. So each product, again, have to stand out from the crowd, well executed. We have to have the same experience across different products. And then we can take the user journey of the life and have it in one direction, and we can have the user journey of a day and have another direction. And we can start to use this as a framework for us to design great products and great experiences. So if you think about this, and you look back to the slide we had earlier about the history of design, the 4 different elements, you can say that in the middle, you have the notion of design excellence. And then you can say like the design language or design philosophy, that is what goes across. And then you have the notion of experience design, where you start to design different touch points that goes up and down. So this becomes our model that we can start to map different strategies of implementation of this model. But if you look at it, the thing about design-driven innovation, that is not in the model. So of course, this is an area that is important for us. But what we also found out that, think about if you have a chronic condition and maybe you will use these products for the rest of your life. So it's a really, really different kind of relationship you would have with the people that use our products. And if you have the rest of your life, this really talks about the future, maybe not just the future in terms of 1 and 2 years, but maybe 20 years. And this means that we have to look into the future, into trends, to define our strategy of how to use design-driven innovation. So what we did was that we started to look into megatrends, like what is the trends that will affect our business and what our area in the future. And you have stuff like growth in telemedicine, healthcare pressure, users that are empowered, a lot of different trends. Little bit difficult for us to understand how we should deal with these trends. So we made a process of taking these trends in a systematic way. So we started to map out these trends, all the trends we can find. We used like our creative processes to map the information in different large information landscapes. Then we started to develop the different scenarios of the future. We looked at a system-based scenario. We looked at scenarios that were more with a patient in the center. We looked into solution-based approaches, and also what if the current situation is continuing the way the system is today. So what we found interesting was it's a little bit difficult for us to predict the future, but we can see different scenarios could happen. So instead of determining about we're going to do design strategy in terms of one scenario, we actually chose to look into what do these scenarios have in common. What are the stuff that these scenarios have in common? And we mapped all of this information down to 3 mega trends. 3 trends that will have a lot of influence in what we're doing. And we can see that the trends would be something we call user empowerment. This talks back to user demanding a more active role, making their own decisions, making their own choices in terms of medical devices. We had a trend about data revolution. This is also what you know as big data. If somebody have known about this, this is where you start to have large amount of data that you can actually make meaningful with computer science. Also people inputting their own data themselves in a way that it's useful. Then we have the big trend of healthcare pressure. So what we could do is we could take all this information and we can start to look into, in these trends, what design disciplines in terms of design-driven innovation could be relevant for us. So we can start to have some experience in these kind of fields. So we look into, for example, that this thing about healthcare pressure, in the future healthcare system, maybe it's going to be completely different. The way medical device companies partner with patients, partner with hospitals, partner with nurses, partner with private partners is going to be different. And the way to understand this maybe would be the skill of ecosystem design. So examples of how we can map out large connections in really complex structures and use design as a creative tool to understand this better. We also looked into this thing about data revolution and how design plays a part of that. So I don't know if you know this internet page. This is called Patients Like Me. You can almost compare this as a private company, and this is almost like Facebook for people with a condition or a disease. So here people can meet, they can share information, they can learn about stuff. But what they also do is they input their own data. For example, if they exercise, the medication, how their condition is treating. And this means that actually you have a large amount of information. And this information, you can start to feedback it to the users or the patients. But you can see this information can be pretty complex to communicate. So the whole notion of data visualization and data visualization design becomes something that is really important for us, but also for a lot of other companies, meaningful data. Then what we could do, we can see this trend about user empowerment, where users are demanding a more active role. They want to make their own decisions. When they have a condition, they will start to Google it, and they will not just take the doctor's advice for what they will make up their own opinions. So this means that there will occur new business opportunities and maybe new business models. So we learned earlier about the stuff about users being empowered, and maybe the medical device industry being more like the consumer goods industry. And actually what you see is that it's not going to be the consumer goods industry, but maybe some new business models that doesn't exist will happen. And then we start to see that actually design plays a big role in business design. This is an example of a book called Business Model Generation. And this is used by a lot of large companies. It's a bestseller book, so it shows that this is a big trend where you can use the creative processes of design to actually work at business models. So you can do visual business models, you can do variations, you can do iterations, and you can map them out and you can talk about them and you can find new opportunities for business models. So what we did, this is just some examples. We took all this information and we see, are there any way we can map this kind of new design disciplines back into our experience model? So what we did was we thought about a third axis that went out of the picture. So it will look something like this. And this is where you can see that we're starting to have newer design disciplines all of a sudden playing a role in this system. So you'll have business design we talked about, design-driven innovation methods, ecosystem design, data visualization, also design of services, of course, that becomes really important, and this notion of design thinking. So then this concludes our model to be like this three-dimensional model. Of course, it doesn't say exactly what we're doing, but it gives somehow a framework of us to make strategies in how things connect in different ways. Again, you have the product in the middle. We believe that the product is the most important thing. One product stands out. You have this notion about design language or philosophy. We can do experiences, touchpoint design, and we can also try to move the whole system with design as a creative process to create innovation. So thank you so much. This was a short walkthrough about what we're doing. And I would like to say that I believe and Coloplast believe in a really open approach to design. We're not going to design the future ourselves. We're going to do it together with other people. So please, if you're ever in Denmark, if you're ever in Copenhagen, stop by our office, have a chat with us. You can also email me. You can connect at LinkedIn. You can share your own work. You can talk about your own company. You can help us. You can give advice. Anything, I'm really open to that. So thank you so much for coming, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Eskild. Very interesting design process and explanation. Thank you. So we have time for a couple of questions. Does somebody have a question for Eskild? I do. You were talking about the mega trends, and one mega trend we have here in Hong Kong is that the Hong Kong people now have the longest life expectancy in the world.
Yeah.
And in fact, in mainland China and Japan, all across Asia, these aging societies, how does that affect how you design?
Yeah, it's a good question because it's pretty simple. If you look at demographic charts, for example, in Denmark, in the future there will be enormous amount of old people compared to young people in a way that have never been happening before. So in one way you have a pressure on the healthcare system. The healthcare system doesn't have as much finance as it used to, but maybe it even needs like 25% more capacity. And this means, if you think about it, the way that governments treat healthcare in the future have to be in a very, very different way than it is now. So this, of course, will affect people that deals with this sector and affect us. And this is also why the design initiative is a part of also creating these beautiful solutions that actually help people help themselves in an even better way.
Okay, thank you. A question from the audience? Now, I've told all my students if you ask a question, you get extra marks, but I've had no takers. I'm serious about that. Anybody?
There's a question.
Okay. I can't give you extra marks, but I welcome the question.
Hi, thank you for your good presentation. And I have a question. Is in a real product company, if you want to practice your design-driven innovation, what kind of organization should support of your approach?
Yeah, it's a good question. So actually, the reason why I'm here today is the new wish of using design more in innovation as well. So Coloplast have this enormous interest in doing solution that is based on the user's needs. So Coloplast have doing these design-driven processes for years and years and years with designers, like a lot of the Danish design agencies would have been working with Coloplast. But if you need to take design to the next strategic level, you need a person or an organization internally, like a design group or design organization that takes care of this. And Coloplast never had a design director before. So I'm the first person that have responsibility for building and driving a design organization and design group. And of course, this is under development. We're hiring designers and we're building up processes and structures and finding methods and doing frameworks, working with the leadership team on strategies, working with the design team on how to work together on these kind of things. So building a design organization becomes an important part of this. Good question.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks once again, Eskild, for your presentation, and all the best.
Thank you.